So hi, welcome to the Noise Podcast. I'm Shane,
I'm Glory.
and we're here with
My name's Nick Ghanbarian from the band Bayside.
all right. Some questions say about their newest single, "Go to Hell," and new EP, the Red EP. So congrats on that, by the way. How do you feel about the response
Thanks.
to those so far?
Good. We've been a band for a very long time, 22 years, and we're constantly adapting to the music industry changing. So we decided last year to put out a course of like singles and an EP as opposed to a full album, just to see what the response would be. And for the most part, it works. We had one song that kind of got algorithmed, is the light way to put it, where it
Yeah.
didn't really do what we thought it would do, through no real reason other than Spotify was
Said,
mean to
"Fuck
it.
that," yeah.
But other than that, yeah, I mean, our core fans, our like most dedicated fans, find a way to hear everything, and we write songs with all of our fans in mind. So for the most part, I think people like our newer stuff, and yeah, the reaction's been good. Still heartbroken over that one song, which we thought was gonna do a lot better, and it wound up being a weird one for us. But Go to Hell was came out a little bit before Christmas, and that song's been doing great for us,
Hell yeah.
thankfully.
Well, that one little pesky song is now just going to be the underground fan favorite, you know?
I hope so. I mean, a little behind the scenes, but we named the song's called Just Like Home. We named our tour after it. We saved it for last on the EP because we were like, oh, this is the one. And then it was like analytically one of the least good songs we've released in like a decade. And we were like, okay, this
Oof.
has nothing to do with the song. It's just clearly Spotify's not letting anyone know that it exists.
So it's getting
That's
fucked
that.
on Spotify. Is it getting fucked on like all streaming services?
I mean, that's kind of the main one. Like again, analytically, Apple Music just isn't as fruitful for us. There's just less subscribers, so we concentrate on Spotify a lot. But yeah, I mean, Apple was kind of the same way. I just don't know that. I mean, maybe we misjudged it, and it's not as much of a banger as we thought. But whatever, live and learn. Go to Hell came out and did great right away, so we're good.
Hell yeah.
Oh yeah. So the majority of your cover arts just on your discography have your bird logo on it, and they all share that in common.
Mhm.
But the thing is with these two releases is they're almost identical. It's
Mhm.
literally just like two different colors. Are they connected in any way?
It's all leading up to something for sure. Like we have the it's weird to say these things because we've never like really done it yet, but there's obviously like a second, I don't know about obviously, but there's a second release, and then uh a full, I'll say it'll all culminate to be an album, and like the
Okay.
artwork will kind of all match up and stuff like that. So yeah, there's a process to it all. We still have this year we'll go into the studio one more time to kind of round out the quote unquote album, and then it'll all live. I don't know that we have plans necessarily to release it as an album physically, but eventually when all the songs are done and released, it'll all live together as like a 10 song or 11 song, whatever it winds up being, like release on streaming.
Okay, so are you just planning on releasing separate EPs and singles and then just kind of mashing it all together into an album?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, that's the new idea that we're rolling with this time. I mean, I think the way people listen to music and digest music is obviously changing a lot, and it's a lot better as far as our workflow goes to have people concentrate on one song at a time, as opposed to us basically working our asses off for months to get together 10 songs, to go into the studio for a month or so to write them, and then we release them all at once, and then people listen to four songs anyway. It's you could just there's so many pros and cons about being able to see like streaming numbers all the time, and 95% of albums you could see the numbers of your streams. Like if you release a 10 song album, it starts off strong and then it just trails off, like a lot of people, only the diehards are listening to track 7, 8, 9, 10. So it's a lot less time consuming for us to write and record and release this way. And I think it also demands more focused attention from the listener. Which all this stuff is just not fun to talk about, you know? Like I want to put out music and to have people just listen to it like they were 15, but times are different, people grow up, and it's a lot easier for like a 35-year-old adult to focus on one new Bayside song for a month before we release another one. So that's kind of where we're at right now.
Sure. So can you tell us a little bit about your writing process for these releases?
So really, since we haven't all lived in the same city for about a decade now, so thank goodness for, you know, file sharing and stuff like that. We could send demos and song ideas to each other. And for the Red EP, for the most part, I would say those songs Anthony sent over, especially Stranger's Faces, was you know, a fully formed song when he sent that over. And Good Advice and Just Like Home, we messed with a little bit, but we'll send demos over. We'll all kind of put ideas down and send them to each other before we all get in a room and really hash out what it's like to all four of us to play together. So the writing process hasn't really changed a lot in 20-something years. I think technology makes it easier for us to like not need to be in a room together for like 8 hours at a time to write a song. So it's gotten easier in a lot of ways, but we challenge ourselves just because we want to be relevant. We want to keep pushing ourselves while also, like I said, we keep our fans, their taste in mind when we write songs too. So we're trying to push ourselves, but not too far sonically, as far as like, here's our song that sounds like Coldplay now, you know, like it's we want to sound like Bayside, but also kind of comfortably expand what Bayside is. And we've been doing that for really since Interrobang. We've been working with the same producer since then, which was like early 2019, I want to say. And he's helped us. Like, we wanted to get a little bit more aggressive and heavier and faster and a little bit more I don't know, metal here and there, and we did our best to do that, and he helped us kind of polish it. So he's done the Red EP and these couple of songs, and we'll be with him this year too. Nice.
So like, since you guys do a majority of like your writing, you know, everybody's in different areas. I would assume your communication like over text is pretty streamlined. Like there's not a lot of like bickering back and forth. Like it's a pretty easy process for everyone.
You'll be surprised when the bickering starts. You know, it's like usually okay, and then out of nowhere something will happen. But it's that kind of age-old description of like people in bands. It's like you could be at each other's throats, but your family, your brothers, you know, your siblings, whatever it is. It's, you know, on the Red EP we had like an all-time argument, you know, but it became fruitful. You know, it became like a step in the right direction, because there is respect there, and there is, you know, decades worth of work that we've all put in together and stuff like that. So it's nothing, I wouldn't say it's ever anything personal. It's just more about really still growing as people and growing as communicators. You know, it's learning how to react to your own emotions and then bring that to the table. So yeah, I mean, we still argue and bicker about things because it's hard to be like 98% compatible creatively, and then that 2% is like, I will die for this one idea.
This 1 second in this song.
So I want you to tell us your favorite lyric off the Red EP and Go to Hell, and what it means to you.
Ooh, let's see. I'm gonna have to pull up lyrics. I know that there's a good answer there. I knew it was in Good Advice. The line in the first verse that says, "Did you listen to the right people who showed you how to live?" And you know, like, to me, that's such a big part. I'm 42 years old, and I still consider myself, you know, growing up. You know, like I've always been in a band. I've never, even before I knew who I wanted to be, I knew that I didn't want to just be like a normal person, just like doing what you're supposed to do. And like, thankfully, I found like my local punk rock and hardcore scene and stuff like that, because that helped me realize that like, okay, I'm not the way my brain works and the way I see the world like is maybe in the minority, but there are people that I like vibe with. So I think it's something, that sentiment of like, did you listen to the right people who showed you how to live? Like, I think that that's like a big deal to me, because now that I'm an adult, I realize that when I was a kid, all the adults in my life, they didn't really know what they were doing either. So it's like, why it's hard to, yes, you should respect people, your elders who hopefully are nice to you. But I think you have to like be your own person. So listening to the right people, I guess that's subjective, but listening to, taking advice from people and getting good advice, like the song Good Advice, it's hard. Literally, it's hard to know what's good advice or what's bad advice or who to trust. So that's something that resonated with me for sure.
Hell yeah.
Absolutely.
So where was your headspace at while you guys are writing these tracks?
I mean, it's really, it has so much to do with where, after all this time, we're still working to, like I said, make our fans happy and fulfilled, but still try to make new fans. It's really important to us to remain as relevant as we can, realistically. Like, we're not gonna, on our like 9th album or whatever it is, like break through and be the next Taylor Swift. We're like 40-year-old gnarly dudes at this point, like we're realistically know what our career is going to be like, but we're kind of stubborn. We don't want to rest on whatever laurels we have, and we're trying to make new fans, which also is why we've kind of written the way we've written for the last couple of years, which is, like I said, get a little bit, lean on our more metal side and our more punk side and our aggressive side, because it would be easier to get sort of, I don't know, slower or whatever the older we get, but we're kind of actually going in the opposite direction. But headspace wise is really, it's about being creative, but it's also about like getting results, like trying our best to, sports analogy, like load the bases so that if our fans like one song, they'll like the next couple too. And it's really just looking for a way to reach new fans. And I don't know, it's we've always had to be like a band that concentrates on like how we sound, but then the era that we're coming up in, that we have come up in, it forced us to be like half musician, half business person. So like we really do write in a sense that we can't necessarily take risks that are creative sometimes, because we honestly feel like they'll be like bad business moves in the long run. So I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Like totally, it would be great to be able to be more creative here and there, but there's sometimes, like I said, and I mentioned like sounding like Coldplay or something, it's like if we don't have we don't want to like stumble in our career. There might be songs or albums or something that that our fans like less, but no one like hates anything that we've done as far as like our diehard fans. So headspace wise is always like it's pushing the boundaries slightly, expanding what people accept as Bayside, and then I mean, it's just more about getting out there, playing a couple of these new songs live, and then we know, because we've been a band so long, that people coming to see us is growing to be a bigger deal, because people get older, they don't go to as many shows. But if Bayside is like the one show they go to a year, or maybe like one of 2 or 3 they go to in a year, like we feel in a good way pressure to make it stand out. They're spending their money to, their hard-earned money that, they have families, houses, whatever it is. They're spending money on us to like escape reality for a little bit. Like we have to live up to that. And that's like matters like more to us now more than it ever has.
Absolutely. And I think that you guys like kind of being business people while also being creative is like why you guys have had such a long career that's been like really no like teetering off point. You stayed consistent the entire
Relevant.
time, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that part of that is like, I don't want to say luck is the wrong word, but it's not like in our formative years when I'm saying like 2000, I don't know, 2005 to 11 or so. It's not like we weren't trying to be like the next big thing,
Mhm.
you know, like, but we know when things don't feel like us,
Yeah.
you know. It's like when it's
Yeah.
the four of us and we're writing and something feels too poppy or too something, we're like, this doesn't feel right. And I think that is almost, like I keep saying, that's almost like our fan base like hovering over us and being like, I don't know if we're gonna dig this one, because we do have a couple of different sounds that we mess with, and some people like catchier stuff, some people like heavier stuff, so we bounce back and forth between all of that. But it's through no like lack of trying did our career wind up being very consistent. Like, we did try to have those big moments, and they raised the sea level for us here and there, but they never became like huge moments where we had like, you know, whatever. I mean, we were on Conan O'Brien once, but it's not like we were like a TV band or a radio band or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I want you to describe these couple tracks for new listeners in 3 words. No more, no less.
Okay. Man, well, one of them is spooky.
Okay.
I'll say that. I'll do one word for each song. Okay. Spooky for sure. I always refer to Strangest Faces as our Haunted Mansion song.
Absolutely. It's my favorite.
Old school is 2 words, but I would say good advice is more. Yeah, old school. Okay. Okay. If hyphens are a thing, then
don't
Just
abuse
Like
them,
Home. Yeah, I have to, because I always thought that Just Like Home was a jock jam. Like, I hear that being played. Like, I've had it played. I live close to Anaheim where the Ducks played, and I had them play it, and I'm like, it sounds so good while like the team's skating around.
Yeah.
So Just Like Home is a jock jam to me.
And Go to Hell. You said one for each song.
Ooh, okay. I have to hyphenate again. It's like power emo.
Okay.
Power emo. All right,
Yeah.
that's perfect. Great.
So in that same train of thought, is there a certain feeling or emotion you want listeners to have while going through these songs?
That's tough. You know, like, because I'm such a fan of like new music, and I'm constantly finding new bands that I like, and I'm searching for like the parallel to me being like sitting in my room as a teenager and connecting with bands. I'm looking for the parallel of that as an adult, and that's tough. I don't know. I just really want people to, I want it to spark something in people, not to necessarily make them feel young, but I want them to like feel excitement as a 25-year-old, 30, 35-year-old. It's such a hard thing to stay connected to music, and that's why like people respond to nostalgia, because it's like nostalgia when it comes to music is like you listen to something that was really important to you in your formative years, and now that you're an adult, it's just different. But I want people to figure out a way to connect, and again, not in the same way they did when they were 15, but I want someone to connect as an adult to new music. And that's why I have a radio show. That's what I hope people do with Bayside. Like, I know and I see that life's just different when you get older, but it doesn't mean that you can't get excited. It just takes a little bit more work, or understand that your excitement level is just different than when you're 20 or something like that, the older you get. So it's just more about putting in time, and then really all you got to do is like get it right once. If one new song from a new artist gets you excited, that might really get the ball rolling. So you know, when it comes to our new stuff, like maybe people haven't heard us in 10, 15 years, and maybe they hear a new song and they're like, wow, okay, I like this Bayside song. Oh, wow, they've written 5 records since the last time I heard them. Let me listen to them. So it's just, I want people to be excited and be happy. And that's through a lot of different things that I do. That's always the common goal, whether it's Star Wars podcast, being in a band, coffee roasting, like whatever it is. It's like I want to be on the end of some people being excited and being happy, and there being like some sort of community element to it all.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely. I love that. I love that a lot. So what band or artist influence do you hear the most off of these tracks, if any?
I've only seen one person. I mean, none of them. Okay, I'll say this. Just like home in the studio, we referenced parts that sounded to me like Nirvana, Rage Against the Machine, System of a Down, even Taking Back Sunday at some point. So that's also why we were like, oh, this is like a really good song because it sounds like Bayside, but we were talking about all these other sounds and bands and stuff while we were writing it. And I've only seen one person correctly describe Go to Hell as sounding like Biffy Clyro, and that's like a very direct influence on that song. Like Biffy Clyro has been one of my favorite bands for a very long time. And I remember Anthony, I think he might have recently seen them in Nashville, and he was like, that was the best show I ever saw. And then, a couple of weeks later, a Biffy Clyro Bayside song came through, and I was like, okay, I get it. I love it. But I mean, they're just not a big band in America, so not a lot of people know them. Like they do okay here, but they're like a festival headliner in the UK and Europe and stuff. So, so that's a very direct influence for sure.
All right.
Absolutely.
So picture this: you're on tour, you're at a gas station for a rest stop. What is your snack of choice?
It's a new thing that I'm finding a lot more. I don't eat meat, but Beyond makes vegan beef jerky now, and it's delicious. It's great.
It is pretty good.
Yeah. That's great for a little like 7-Eleven snack.
All right.
Absolutely. So speaking of tour, you actually have an upcoming tour starting in February. What should fans expect? Fans who haven't seen you live in a while, fans who just haven't seen you live, what should they expect for this run?
A lot of what I've been saying. I mean, we really want to be at our best, and my favorite band is Bad Religion, and every time I see Bad Religion is the best time I ever saw them. Like I've seen them over 100 times, and every time is better than the last time, and that's what I want Bayside shows to be like. Like I don't want someone to be like, they were better 2 years ago when I saw them or whatever. So, our set list, has some new songs on it, some songs we've never played on it, some rare tracks we've never played. Obviously, all the hits, because we never want to be that kind of band that like doesn't like. We have all kinds of fans where they're casual or they're diehard, but we don't want someone to show up to a show and not be able to hear like Duality or Devotion to Desire or something. So there's like 7 or 8 songs that we definitely play every show, and that's very much so on purpose. But I mean, we just are stepping up production wise. Like I think we'll visually be I don't know, like it'll be more fun to look at. And the set list wise, I mean, it's gonna be a nice long set list because there's only 3 bands total on the tour. So we're playing like over 20 songs or something like that, and all of our more popular songs, and then mixed in with a bunch of newer ones, and some more rare songs. So if you're seeing us for the 20th time, maybe you come away with like seeing us perform 4 or 5 songs you haven't seen us play before. So all I know is we're trying our best to improve, and hopefully it's noticeable for people.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
Wonderful. I'm actually gonna try and catch you guys
Nice.
on this tour for the second time. I saw you guys in Virginia Beach with
nice.
Pink Shift and
Yeah,
Save
yeah.
Face. Honestly, it was in my top 3 shows of last year. You guys were remarkable, and I'm very excited to see what you guys have up your sleeve for this.
I mean, that was a good show. I was super stoked we got to play those couple of shows with Save Face and Pink Shift, and it'll I don't know what's the closest, maybe Baltimore to you. Yeah. That's actually the only show on the East Coast that's not sold out. Everything else is sold out already, which is cool.
Damn. All right, I might have to make that decision soon then.
So if the band was a dish, what dish would the band be and why?
Wow.
Sorry for the rapid switch there. Normally we have a seamless transition.
Something.
Yeah.
Let's see. We're mostly Italian. 3. I'm half Italian. Chris and Anthony. I mean, let's see. I'm thinking in terms of nationalities here. Jack's all Irish. I'm Persian and Italian. Chris is all Italian, and Anthony, I think, is Argentinian and Italian. So there's a lot. there's a lot of carbs there as far as a
Best.
dish goes. But I'm gonna say one thing. I don't know if a sandwich is a dish, but I'm gonna say a nice Italian deli style sandwich.
Okay. You put a little chips on the side. It's
Yeah,
a
yeah,
dish.
exactly.
Yeah.
I think if I could picture all of us sitting down somewhere in New York to eat, might be sandwich based.
Okay.
Hmm. So for these last couple questions, we're actually going to shift away from music, if that's okay with you.
Of course.
Perfect. So we're actually going to go straight to death row.
Boom.
So if you're on
Okay.
death row, what would your last meal be with a drink?
I don't think I'm ever like happier I'm eating than when I'm eating like a really good pizza. And since I've lived in California for 6 years, it's been tough to find good pizza. But in the last year, I don't know if things are changing here and like people are figuring out that like water is super important to pizza, and like water filtration systems are becoming like more prevalent in like coffee shops and restaurants and stuff like that. But there's like a handful of good pizza places out here that I swear are like 90% as good as like New York or New Jersey pizza or something like that. So I would go super simple. Like it might just be like pizza and a Coke, like
Yeah.
I was about to say Coke Zero, but I'm like, if I'm about to die, I'm not going to care about calories.
Why not?
The only other food I literally get excited for, and I mean literally, is there's a restaurant in Vegas called Best Friend, and it's Korean barbecue, but they have excellent like vegetarian and vegan options. So that's the only other food that like when I'm eating it, I'm happy. I don't know. I have such a weird. I've only really come to terms in the last year or so that I have a weird relationship with food because I just think it's all bad for you. So I'm like, I don't want to eat. It's bad. I don't know what to eat because it's all gonna kill me. So so I know the better it tastes, it's probably the worse that it is,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so yeah. I'll just go with pizza.
Sounds good.
That'll make me happy.
Good pick.
All right.
Very good pick.
So if you could live in one fictional world for a week, where would you live?
Oh, definitely Star Wars. And I've had the like slight taste of that going on in Orlando. They have the like Star Cruiser like hotel experience, and it's
Oh,
like a
yeah.
fully immersive like basically like role playing like medieval times kind of thing that's like it's all Star Wars based. And I was like, oh, I wish this never ended. I know this is only 2 days long, but I will literally never see my friends or family again if I could just live in Star Wars.
That would be so cool, yeah.
So yeah, I would go directly to the Star Wars galaxy.
Perfect. And actually, speaking of Star Wars, you co-host a Star Wars podcast alongside William Ryan Key of Yellow Card and Adam of Story of the Year.
Yeah.
How did that come about? Like, how did you guys decide, you know what, let's make a Star Wars podcast together?
Well, the story goes Adam and Ryan started it and they did a couple episodes, and while they were out here in California going to Disney, they went to Galaxy's Edge, and Ryan and we have the same manager. Her name's Kristen, and Kristen hit me up one day and was like, "Hey, Ryan is in town and wanted to know if you wanted to be on his Star Wars podcast just as a guest."
Yeah.
So him and Adam came over, like literally right here, like right on my couch, and we did an episode. And then I want to say like the next morning, he was like, "Hey, that was really awesome. Would you want to like be a third host? Because that was great." So I was just like, "Yeah, man. Like, I'm gonna talk about Star Wars anyway. Like, I might as well do it into a microphone." So, yeah. I mean, I barely knew Ryan. We had really only toured together on Warped Tour, and then he was on tour. We were on tour at Newfound Glory, and he was opening the show solo and also doing like second guitar for Newfound Glory on that tour. So I knew Ryan. We weren't like super close, and I didn't know Adam. And yeah, I mean, Star Wars brought us all together, the three of us, and then we have like two other podcasts we work with. Like the amount of like friendship and community that like Star Wars has brought me in the last couple of years is like one of the more like positive and exciting things as an adult in a long time. It's been a great experience. The amount of people that like, whether they're internet friends or real friends or whatever, like it's such a cool community. I mean, obviously there's like half of Star Wars fans hate Star Wars hate Star Wars, but that's we don't really we don't talk to those people, but our experience more has to do with like the community behind Star Wars than it does like the actual like what's on TV or in the movies. Like we could be critical of some things here and there, but we all have a good relationship with like the why of why we like Star Wars, and it makes us feel like a kid again, but also there's nuance to it all. But it's more about being able to like watch a show and then talk to everyone and be like, did you see, like, could you believe this? Like, oh my God, it's a really unique experience. Which people forget about Star Wars is that it's like an ongoing, like over 4-decade long open script. It's not Lord of the Rings. It's not, it's not something that has a beginning and an end. It's something that's like constantly changing, and that's like the double-edged sword of it. You don't know what's going to happen, but then part of the culture of Star Wars is speculating and guessing. So a lot of people let themselves down because of their own expectations. So I did it too, and it was a letdown when I was like, no. And then I learned, because I'm not, because I'm self-aware, a day or two later, I was like, okay, I mean, I didn't get my way, but I love Star Wars. And some people are like, I didn't get my way, I hate Star Wars.
Fuck Star Wars. Wait, so what were some of your speculations for Star Wars?
Well, it was more about, it was the in-between, obviously, when like The Force Awakens came out, there was so much about like Snoke and Rey and all this stuff. And then when The Last Jedi came out, which was like really splintered the fan base, which, most people who aren't super casual with Star Wars realize that like that's when the fan base kind of split. So yeah, I was let down with what happened in The Last Jedi. I don't think it was a big deal. I'm not anymore. I was upset with it when it happened, and then absolutely. I literally went back the next morning and watched it again, knowing what was going to happen. I was like, oh, that was a good movie. Like as it was happening, I think I had a panic attack because I was just like, wait, what? No, this can't be what? And then I probably barely slept that night, if I remember, and then went back at like 9 a.m. to watch it again, and was like, okay, that was a good movie. Like what can you do? Like I watch the things that I watch and listen to things I listen to enjoy them and find happiness. It's like I can't hate watch something or whatever. So to me, it's the overall story that's the biggest piece of advice I give to like any fandom, really. It's like, don't worry about the execution necessarily, how something looks or a script, or necessarily like those things. It would be great if they were perfect, but I won't say 9 times out of 10, most of the time execution could be subpar, but the story is what matters. So the overall story of what Star Wars is, if you like wrote it down, is what like I'm here for. So so yeah, that was the whole not really getting an answer on Rey, and then Snoke having no answer until like the third movie. I was just like, like I don't know. I think we're all ready for like more in-depth Star Wars, and not necessarily like surface level Star Wars, but we'll get it. I mean, the way they work is they kind of fill in the gaps afterwards, and that's part of the beauty of Star Wars, is that it's like this open concept of like storytelling that's over 4 decades long. So and it's not stopping anytime soon. So it's exciting.
Hell yeah.
It's amazing. I love it.
So I have the honor of asking the last question, and every single person that we've spoken to have said that it is the most important question. What's your favorite color?
As long as black is a color, definitely black. It's most of my wardrobe. I just base it off of what I wear. I don't know. I really wear black and white. Besides, I'm wearing this like the only tan color hoodie I have right now. But man, camo's not a color, right? I've been wearing a lot of camo lately.
I mean,
I'll say like a mustard yellow.
Okay.
Ooh.
Yeah.
All right.
Like a kind of like 1970s era yellow.
That vintage. Yeah. Yeah.
Sounds good. So as I said, that's all the questions we have today. Is there anything that you would like to plug?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we talked about Bayside and the tour. I mean, whether you're supporting us or any other band, it's a really transitional time for a lot of bands. So make sure you're buying if you're streaming their music, please buy a t-shirt, buy a ticket to a show, something like that. Like I'm not gonna there's no shame in having Spotify or Apple Music, but that does not equal support for a band at all. I will be blunt about that. So if you're buying or if you're streaming their songs, post about it, let your friends know about it, and figure out a way to financially support, buy a t-shirt, buy a ticket, whatever it is. Yeah, other than that, we talked about the Star Wars podcast. That's a lot of fun. If you want to kind of do a deeper dive into Star Wars but have fun with it, that's called Thank the Maker. My own little passion project that I do on my own is the radio show. I pick 10 songs a week that are either new artists or like deep cuts from bands that we all listen to. And it's all like kind of based in like alternative or punk or indie kind of music. But that's something that I again would do whether or not I had a show. I would want to tell my friends about bands that I like and hope that they get some sort of emotional like enjoyment out of it, or or maybe buy a ticket to a show or something like that. So if you're looking for some new music that's not like picked out by an algorithm, but it's picked out by a human, it's only streaming on Spotify because I play music. That's always been like the one caveat is you can't really stream other people's music for free. So it has to be like based in streaming service, and only Spotify offers that right now. So if you have Spotify, just look up the radio show, and it's like a 45-minute listen once a week. Mostly music. I talk for, I don't know, 7 to 10 minutes total, and the rest is all music. So yeah, that's something that I have a good little crew of people who listen to it, and always looking for more interactivity when it comes to that.
Oh yeah.
Lovely.
Well, thank you. Now this has been Nick from Bayside, and we have been the Good Noise Podcast.